Hello there, Lollygaggers. First show of the new year. First show, new year, 2023. Joined by Matthew Irby here on Lollygagging Sports. I, of course, am Bo Reed, your host every week. We are down one lollygagger, though, Irby. Samantha could not make the show this week, but that's okay. She is definitely going to be ready for the playoffs, unlike one Odell Beckham Jr.
Hey, yeah, there you go. I think that's the best way to say it. She has performed so well on the show that she got a bye week.
She did get a bye week.
We're in playoff seeds. She's the number one seed. Got a bye, and we got to duke it out here to see who. No, that's we will miss Samantha. It's always fun to have her on here. It is a blast, but we will soldier on. We will soldier on. Unlike Odell Beckham. Well done.
Yeah. There's just really no chance of either one of us being the one seed, but that's okay. That's okay. The one seed doesn't always win the Super Bowl. But I think we're already geared up for the playoffs. We still have 1 week to go. And it's going to be crazy thanks to some shenanigans between the Eagles and the Vikings and all those guys in the NFC. So we're going to do our best to set the stage for that. But before we get into that, Irby, let's talk a little bit about this college football playoff national championship game that's coming up on the 9th, which is, ridiculous. What is it, 8 days, 9 days in between the semifinals and the final? Why aren't they playing it on Saturday? Let's just start there. Why are we having to wait all the way until Monday?
Well, this is the ESPN. ESPN, this is essentially their Monday night football. Their Monday night has ended with games, and then they're going to do this one. So that's why we get the Monday night instead of any Saturday night, which now the NFL has 2 Saturday games. So I include in a Saturday night game, like whatever. But yeah, I'm excited about this. Get to watch some football. The semifinals were interesting. Definitely some Ivy League basketball scores in these games. There's
a couple.
Defense was not a conversation we were having. Golly.
we're just, when you reach this point of the college football season, do you really need to play defense? I mean, we're just going to outscore each other. That's what we're going to do. It's going to be a boat race. And everyone's excited. What was interesting, let's start with TCU, Michigan. The third quarter, we all knew how good Michigan had been this season in the second half. I don't think we quite realized how good TCU has been. Well, maybe that's a bad way of putting it. We didn't really think about it because of how good Michigan's been. But you really did have 2 second-half teams going at it, and the third quarter was just punch, punch, punch. There was no blocking going on whatsoever. It was just punch, punch, punch. And hey, you know what? All this talk about referees and all this other nonsense in that game, give TCU some credit. Every time Michigan got close, they had an answer. And that's why they won that football game.
Oh, yeah. This is the TCU and the Big 12 fans, those Big 12 fans, this didn't shock us, what TCU did. I mean, they grinded out. They did that all season long. And then a game like this. Now, the fact Michigan, because this game was 21-6 at the halftime. Mm-hmm. The fact Michigan was able to bounce right back in and get in this game pretty quickly. I mean, I know it took a while to get, but they were in it pretty quick. Is not shocking to any of us.
No,
just because you look at what Michigan. I mean, Michigan couldn't do anything right the whole first quarter. Looked at down and out, and then a pick six. Like, damn. All right, you're going to do that. And I mean, this is 14-0 at the end of one, and then 21-6. But yeah, 44 points in that third quarter you're speaking about. That was that was something else. I mean, we had 4 touchdowns inside of 3 minutes. And that's something, we'll see that sometimes at the end of a second quarter or at the end of a fourth quarter. But this is the end of the third. Like, there's still 15 minutes to play. Like, nobody had to really rush through this thing. But, boy, they ran down the field like it was nothing, and the defense was an issue. But, yeah, 44 points. I mean, that had to be – Jeff Saturday had to be watching this going, Oh yeah, we could do that on the bad end.
Then of course we get the Ohio State Georgia game, which was also starting to look like an upset and almost was. Now, if you want to look at either one of these games as a heartbreaking type game, then I guess you'd have to go with Ohio State and the missed kick as time expired that would have propelled them to that matchup with TCU in the championship game. What the hell happened with that kick? Obviously, we're not going to spend too much time on what happened on Saturday because that's old news. We're going to talk about the game coming up. But I wanted to ask you about the kick. What do you think happened? Did he just get a little overzealous with his right leg and pull it? Because the hold looked fine. The snap looked fine.
So this is, I'm just going to come out and say it. If you watch Noah Ruggles go out there for the kick, and then there's the timeout, if you look after that, there's a quick substitution. It's me out there, actually, performing that. Yeah, and that's why there was no chance, because that's
disappointing.
Exactly what, yeah. That was, I
expect more out of you. Man, I mean, I understand.
No, that was good for me. That's the problem.
Oh dear.
It's just like my golf swing. You know what? That's tough I do feel for Noah Ruggles there, a senior. Like, that's how it ends. That is how.
Yeah.
And the kid's pretty good, so there is definitely some potential to make the next level. But yeah, man, that's tough to end at. And what's crazy is he had just made a 48-yarder 2 minutes and 43 seconds before that.
Right.
The 2:43 left, he made a 48-yarder. Mm-hmm. This was, what was it, 50? Like,
it was 2 yards.
That's what was crazy to me. Is like, it's not like he was kicking a 58 yards. Like, okay, he's got to put a little extra oomph. Like 48 to 50 is like, you don't have to do much more here. That's what was crazy about me, is because they would never had a chance off his foot. That was strange. That was strange from such a solid college kicker that he just. I immediately, I think I texted you and a few other people going, did he hit the laces?
You did.
Like, what happened there? So, man, that's tough.
You go back, you look at the replay, like, no, he just.
No. Good snap, good hold. That is, yeah. So, but you knew we had to have one of those, because I thought it was going to happen in the first game. We were at a party, a New Year's Eve party, and when TCU got the 3-0, they punted, and Michigan started moving down the field. I was looking at friends going, here we go. We've seen this story. And instead it's Georgia that does it, which I love Stetson Bennett's comments that as soon as he threw that touchdown pass, he immediately celebrated, looked at the clock, and went, crap, that's too much time. He was almost right.
All right, well, let's take a look real briefly before we get into some NFL content. Let's take a look at that championship game because I think it might, and obviously, I could be off my rocker here, and you'll let me know if I am, but this really might be contingent on whether Georgia makes the same mistake that Michigan made. Because you look at TCU, especially the way they played that semifinal game, and it's a big play offense. And Michigan, for whatever reason, kept blitzing and selling out that coverage, and we're getting burned time and time. And they never adjusted to that. And that's why TCU kept putting up points in the second half. And I'm wondering if Georgia is going to – they certainly have, I think, the personnel to do it, to be able to play more coverage than blitz. More coverage than stunt. More coverage than, hey, we got to get to the quarterback, though. We're gonna sit back here and make sure the quarterback doesn't hit that big play, doesn't get past our safeties. That's what Georgia, to me, is going to have to do. Otherwise, we may be looking at quite an upset come Monday night if they don't.
Yeah, that's a good point for TCU of what you're going to do. Because TCU, the thing about this TCU team, and there's two aspects of them that I'm real curious to see. The injury status of Kendre Miller, played in the first half, got hurt, did not play in the second half, and TCU was basically down to one running back that entire second half. And Max Duggan did not have a good game. Let's just put that out. I mean, it was not good. 14-29, 225, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And he had a handful of rushes. So it was not good. So TCU won their bowl game with one running back and their Heisman finalist quarterback not having a good game. So that alone right there is the bulletin board. I mean, that Georgia should be taking that serious enough. The flip side, Georgia's defense is a lot better than what just happened. And
yeah.
Ohio State, Stroud did an amazing job of picking apart that secondary. That was the most shocking thing for me, is that Georgia secondary looked bad. Like they looked lost, they looked bad, they weren't communicating. I don't know what that issue is, because Ohio State's known for their quick offense. So I don't understand how you were not prepared for that. So that's going to be a big thing for me. I still hold on to, I think Georgia, I've said it since the beginning, I think Georgia's a tier above everybody, and they just took Ohio State's best shot and survived. Mm-hmm. And Georgia didn't play a clean game. Like, that wasn't a great game from Georgia. Georgia can play better than that. So I don't know. Both teams, which is crazy when you look at the number of points that Georgia and TCU put up. It's like, and both of them could play better. So I don't think this is going to be a game in the 40s and 50s. I sure hope we don't get a full-blown defensive game where it's like 9-6, which wouldn't that be our luck?
That would be our luck.
Yeah, but I also don't love the line. And I know we're not big on the line and the betting line and all that stuff, but opened up at 13 and now it's 12.5. Man, that's a spit in the face to TCU.
Yeah. I still think I'd put the line at 6.5 for this one. That's where I would put it. I could be talked into setting the line at 3.5. But I definitely don't go above 6.5. So
yeah, I can give you the touchdown. That right there, that 6.5, which is basically the 7. You just do that for betting purposes. But yes, you can talk me into the touchdown, sure. 12.5, man, that is okay.
What's bad is it's come down from 13.
Yeah,
that's what's sad. All right, so let's get into some of this NFL content. Let's start with Week 18 is on tap. Jaguars are playing the Titans. I think we're still here, where the Jaguars are rising and the Titans are falling here, Irby. I think that's where we're at. Is that going to be? Are we going to see a culmination of that? I guess Saturday night. Is that when they're playing Saturday night?
Yeah, that's the Saturday night game.
Right. Yeah. So is that what we're going to see? We're going to see the Jaguars finish off the Titans.
Yes, I think that's what happens in this game. There's two teams going in the exact opposite directions, and have been for quite some time. I mean, it was a 6-game losing streak for Tennessee right now. Tennessee, who we didn't think had a great start to the season, and we weren't sure how good this team is. We all thought they would win that division, but they got to 7-3, and we all kind of, here's the Tennessee we've seen before, and they're getting right back to where they've been the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. So it was no shock to us of the Texans are in full rebuild mode. Indianapolis has no clue what they're doing, and Jacksonville at the time was what were they? They were 3-7, 4-game lead, and so but then here, man, 6-game losing streak, like that is literally. I mean, there's no other way to say it. 7-3, and you're now 7-9. Fortunately, you are in a win game that you can win and get a home playoff game. But no, teams going in completely different directions. And Jacksonville's not doing this by beating nothing. I mean, last week it was, yes, they beat up on Houston, but they've beaten the Jets, the Cowboys, and the Titans in this run that they've had. So I love it, in Jacksonville, and Tannehill's still out, so you're going with Josh Dobbs for Tennessee, and we saw what that looked like last Thursday against Dallas, and it wasn't pretty at all, and I assume he's getting, if they're getting Derrick Henry back, he probably will be a little better, but no, I think this is changing to the guard, and this is Jacksonville's.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. I guess we don't have to pick it.
Apparently, there's some rain. I don't know. You're the Florida guy. Like, there's some rain coming that could.
It's Florida. There's always rain.
There's always rain. Okay, all right, yeah.
Just real quick, just a little thing, okay? Because Florida does have this reputation as being the sunshine state, and it does shine a lot, but it also rains a lot. So it's not a shock that there's rain in the forecast. There's rain in every forecast in Florida.
Okay, so don't read too much into that. I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe that throws a wrench into it, and things can work out. But just what we saw last week from Tennessee. I know that you've gotten a full week with Dobbs at quarterback, but there's nothing against him. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening because it's a bad losing streak, which includes the loss to the Texans. So yeah, not going in a good direction at all.
All right, well, let's flip it over to Jacksonville. Let's talk about Trevor Lawrence just a little bit because we've seen him. I don't think he was over the top bad going into the season. We're going to call it the Urban Meyer effect. Okay, it was the Urban Meyer effect on Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville last season. So now you get Doug Peterson in. And Doug Peterson seems to have righted not just the Jacksonville Jaguars ship, but the big piece of that is Trevor Lawrence is starting to play like I think we thought he would. Now, it's only his second year, so I don't think anyone should get down on the guy for taking this long to really start to show his stuff. A lot of quarterbacks take their first year, and they don't really show all that much. But here we are with Trevor Lawrence. How much of this is Doug Peterson? How much of it is just Trevor Lawrence growing at a natural rate?
It's a good combination of both. Like Peterson, we've seen the success before. I mean, you don't have to go far to see what Carson Wentz and Nick Foles have been doing this season. In the so very true. Few games they've gotten into when not really so. If he can win with those guys, yeah. But I mean, I didn't understand the hating on Trevor last year. Yes, it wasn't great, but Jacksonville wasn't trying to win. He was a rookie. Anybody needs a history lesson for our younger audience here. Need a history lesson. Go back and look at Peyton Manning's rookie year.
Oh yeah.
Okay, go back and look at that, and you then quickly go, oh, okay. So this isn't. Don't worry. It takes time, and you hope that it doesn't take as long as Geno Smith, who's finally figuring it out. But hey, he's finally doing it. Good for him. But Trevor, yeah, this is a nice direction. It's almost like we got, and it's tough, and this one's going to hurt you. I'll pour a little salt in your wound as well. But it's the Dak Prescott year, his rookie year. Mm-hmm. It's ever since we've had that, we've had this, and I see we as a collective, we of this thought of, well, the rookie quarter, he should be like Dak. No. Sometimes you get lightning in a bottle, but that doesn't mean that's who you are. And is this Trevor? Is this what we're going to see going forward? Maybe, because this is solid. Can he get better? Yeah. There's enough there. He can get better, but this is. I think this is what we are seeing a young man who took some punches, he took some lumps last year, and he learned from them. And that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do is learn from those mistakes.
It's also telling that we're still waiting on Dak Prescott to be rookie Dak Prescott again. That was such a anomaly of a year, So,
yeah.
But no, I agree with that. I think it's both, and I really hope, especially with the way it looks like Doug Peterson's turning around Jacksonville. Start giving the man a little the actual credit he's due. He won the Super Bowl with the Eagles, and everyone was focused on Nick Foles and the Philly special. And then, it wasn't long after that the Eagles fired him. So, how about we give a little credit to the man? That's all I'm saying. A little bit more credit for Doug Peterson. He deserves it. He's earned it.
Yes. Isn't this a crazy thing? And this really should show, and I'm going to go beyond football. I'm going to go all professional sports Peterson has proven, the success that he can have. and he's doing it again here in Jacksonville. Philadelphia, yes, stumbled for a minute when they got rid of him, but they're right back at it. And it shows, I love how that shows of we get caught up in these names, and it's, well, there's this one player, and if he's on your and it's probably less in the NBA. NBA, you really do need to have a superstar on your team to be successful, but that's also just 5 on the court for pretty much the bulk of the game. Hockey, yes, there's 6 on the court at a time, or 6 on the ice at a time, but there's line changes all the time. They're not out there. The Ovechkins are not out there all the time. Basketball, it's the Currys are out there. The Luka Doncics are out there the whole time. Not obviously the entire, but pretty much. And football, between coaching, between 11 guys out there, I mean, it just shows it really is an environment thing. And it has less and less to do with the talent. It's the environment thing. It's buying into the team. Because you can have all the talent in the world, but if everybody's not buying in, it's not going to succeed. I mean, my gosh, look at what's going on in San Francisco right now with Mr. Irrelevant. Mm-hmm. And so it's Peterson, the voice that he's bringing, what Jacksonville is buying into. That's the big thing here. Is they're buying into it. And can Peterson be the guy that leads them to a Super Bowl? We don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. But the expectations in Jacksonville are not that high right now. Right now, it's, oh my gosh. I mean, if you'd have told Jacksonville fans at the beginning of the year you're gonna win 9 and win the division, they're going nuts. They're going crazy. Right. And all of us are sitting there going, 9 wins gonna win that division? Uh-oh. We're looking at Tennessee and Indianapolis going, uh-oh.
Yeah.
What's about to happen here? And that's the beautiful thing is we talk about these teams that are the best and the worst, and we act like there's this huge gap between them. There's not. There really is not. It is when you get to the tip of the sword in professional sports, that gap between the best team and the worst team is actually very small. Mm-hmm. And it comes down to full commitment. It comes down to execution. It comes down to buying into each other. That makes the difference.
Well, we've already picked this one. We did that earlier in our discussion. See what happens when Samantha's out? Things like this. This is what happens when you leave us unsupervised. For those that missed that, we both picked Jacksonville. So.
Yeah, there was no. See, I don't like that you're saying that the unsupervised, because when her and I are unsupervised, we're on the same issue sometimes. So the common denominator there is me. No, I don't like this.
No comment. All right, Lions, Packers. This game, thanks to the Vikings laying an egg in Green Bay on Sunday. This game has a lot of implications. The Lions and the Packers, they win, they're in. So we could actually see a Packers team that started out just abysmally bad, who does seem to have gotten hot at the right time, suddenly back their way into the playoffs here, Irby, but they still got to beat the Lions, and these ain't the same old Lions that the Packers have been playing.
Yeah, well, and let me clarify something real quick. I have a big issue with what's happened with this. I get the flexing out, the NBC game, the last game. Look, the reason we have so many games at noon and we have these games at the same time, we see this in soccer as well, where it's playing at the same time, so it reduces the competitive advantage. The teams are not allowed to, well, we're going to wait and see what happens in this game, and then we'll decide what we do. And that's exactly what should be happening. And we're not getting that this time. Because, like you said, this game should be win and you get in. But if Seattle at 3, in the afternoon game, if Seattle beats the Rams, the Lions are eliminated. And I can't stand that. Then this game could have easily been, win and you're in, and that would be great. And if it is, then it should be here. But when that went away, this game should have been the afternoon game. Because now it really will matter. Because we will know before this game starts, or right as it starts, Detroit will know if you're in or not, if you even have a chance to get in or not. So I'm full blown on. No, sorry, Seattle, no offense, but I'm all for the Rams. All right, beat Seattle, then this becomes a win and you get in game.
Yeah.
But big issue with how that happened. So hopefully it's Rams take care of business and we get the win and you get in here, because kind of cheer for Detroit here. Love it. Love what they've been putting together lately. They kind of laid that goose egg against, Carolina a couple of weeks ago on Christmas Eve. Really, a game that if you'd have won, then you're in even better shape here and you control your own destiny. But you didn't, so love these two getting that back at it, and hopefully this is a fun Sunday night game. Even if it is like the first one, you remember their first matchup was 15-9. So we might get another one of those, just a defensive battle. But hey, that's fine with me.
Oh, this is the part of the year where you really get into these scenarios. Okay, so as you mentioned, Lions, they win at the Packers, and the Seahawks lose. The Lions are in. There are other ways. They could tie the Packers, and the Seahawks lose versus the Rams, or they could tie the Packers and the Rams and Seahawks tie, and the Commanders beat the Cowboys. So I mean, there's three different avenues right there for the Lions, man.
Yeah, and don't make the jokes about the ties here at the end, because we saw that last year when the Chargers didn't understand that. Don't take that time out. The Raiders are playing for the tie, and you both are in. But instead, we got what we got. But
this is the seven.
Exactly. This is the 7. This is the who knows what happened. And the beautiful thing too is these are two teams coming in hot. That's another reason why I hope this, because this is the Packers were 3-1 at one point, but they were 4-8 not long ago. And the Lions, like you mentioned, were 1-6. 1-6. Like, we were looking at the Lions going, cool, great, guess you're playing for next year already. Let's get, go ahead and get yourself a good draft pick. But then they got that win over Green Bay, and they got hot in there. So, yeah, this should be a great matchup.
Well, let's talk about the Lions real quick before we get into another question about the DC that I wanted to ask you. Let's talk about the Lions' competitive window. Is this a one-off year for them, or is their window actually opening?
Man, I hope it's opening. I really do hope it's opening, and I feel like it is. This is such a weird thing, because we did talk about this when they began that winning streak. Is it 1-6? You're kind of like, all right, boom, working for next year. Jared Goff's not your guy. But now you're having that conversation of, okay, do we stick with Jared Goff? Do we keep him around? Do you make a change? If you make the playoffs after a nice little break from the playoffs, if you win a playoff game after not having won one since 91, you're bringing Goff back. You're sticking with Goff. And is that the long-term answer? No. Maybe it's the answer for now, but it's not the long-term answer. But what else is around with the offensive line? Penei Sewell, the first-round draft pick last year. Him and Taylor Deckard, I love that tackle combination. That is a solid crew. Jamal Williams, looks like an everyday running back. DeAndre Swift had to be the guy last year, but he's more of the third down guy, the off guy. And we're seeing wide receiver play. My gosh, Lions fans have been dying for a everyday wide receiver that can do something since Megatron retired. So yeah, I think this window's opening. What they do with that opening gets very interesting. And I realize I just said Penei Sewell. Obviously, their first-round draft pick last year was Aiden Hutchinson. Penei Sewell was the year before, but you get what I'm saying. Back-to-back first-round picks on guys on the 1 yard of real estate that you love, though.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
We've seen that work for how many teams that are competing right now. And here is a coach, a head coach that these guys love playing for, and you're adding pieces down low for them. Yes, this is opening the window. The question will be, what do you do with that open window? And will it be Jared Goff? Is Jared Goff the guy that can get you there? Because he couldn't get the Rams there. So that's what will be very interesting. But to circle back and long answer what you were saying, yes, the window is opening for the Detroit Lions. This is not a flash in the pan.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this. I'm also going to put I think you were putting a caveat on this that they had to figure out quarterback. Because I'm not sold on Goff either. I don't think that's the long-term solution for Detroit in this window that they are opening. But I do think it's here. And I'm there's one of those teams. I want to obviously see, do they make the playoffs? How do they play in the playoffs? All that fun stuff. But I'm probably paying a lot more, a closer attention to the Lions when it comes to draft weekend, excuse me. I forgot it's the NFL. I'm paying more attention to the Lions than I usually do to see how they continue to build this roster.
Well, and there's the great thing working for the Lions is, as wonderful as this is, and sure, your first-round picks moving back as you're making the playoffs and everything, except for the fact that you love that the Rams keep losing because you have their first-round draft pick. So they're going to have a high draft pick in this. Mm-hmm. And so, and that just double down adds to the, yes, this window is opening. They are moving in the right direction. They are moving forward. But you said it perfectly. Yeah, it's the caveat of what's the answer at quarterback?
Well, I think there's already speculation that it's going to be heavy quarterback first round this draft. So I guess we'll find out soon. Of these two teams, Lions, Packers, obviously, one of them is going to have to go on the road and to face a division winner, and they're the 7, so they're going to get the 2. They're going to get one of 3 teams. We're going to get to the NFC playoff picture here in a second, but they're going to get really one of 3 teams. So they're going to have to go on the road, play a division winner. Which one? Now, I'm not saying either one of them could do this, but which one would you say is more likely? Not likely, just of these two, more likely of these two to have an upset of that division winner?
So I'm gonna cheat just a little bit on my answer, but I'll give you a solid answer. It will depend on who the opponent is, obviously, because of how the Detroit goes about. There are certain opponents that Detroit could face where they definitely are the team. But short answer, if you're making me just pick one or two, I'm going to pick Green Bay just because Aaron Rodgers. And I know he's not the Aaron Rodgers that he used to be, but lately they're on this nice little winning streak. Now, tap the brakes on this winning streak. You've beaten the Bears, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Vikings. And I know quickly someone would go, well, yeah, the Vikings record. No, they're one of the most fraudulent teams we see. So you've beaten 4 not-so-great teams because Miami, you've done it with quarterback issues as well. And the Rams and the Bears are not good. You lost, and then there was close losses to Tennessee and Philadelphia, and they did find a way to beat Dallas that began this streak. So you haven't beaten any good teams. That's the one thing for Green Bay. But because of Aaron Rodgers, because of the points that they can put up, because of what this offense can do, yes, this is definitely something that can be they can pull an upset. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think this is the Aaron Rodgers effect. I mean, I'm not expecting Goff to go in and knock off Dallas, Minnesota, or San Francisco, or Philly. I guess it'd be 4 teams. We have to talk about 4 teams here in a second. But no, Aaron Rodgers for me is that X factor, and that's the one that's more likely to do it. Will he do it? Doubtful. But hey, you never know. All right, let's pick this one then. Lions or Packers?
So I'm going to pick Hart overhead just because it's been fun, and we all thought they were dead in the water at 1-6. So I'm going Lions. Why not? Bring it. Bring on the fun. Like they're just fun to watch. They're fun to cheer for. I know that's one Samantha's been big on this one too. So definitely, I think we can We can easily proxy her vote here for the Lions as well. But yeah, go Detroit. Get it done.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're in a situation where it actually matters, and a Detroit win doesn't mean Seattle gets in. So.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't see the Rams beating Seattle, so I don't think it is going to matter. Well, it'll matter in terms of the Lions can keep the Packers out, which is probably what they would want to do as well. But I'm also going to take the Lions here. If nothing else, just to keep the Packers out. Can we just do that? Damn.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we just lost some more Green Bay fans, man. It's okay.
The two of them that were left, yeah. Well, hey, the one we brought in a lot. I'm gonna bother them a little bit, but I'm very disappointed in how football team ended the season.
Oh,
you benched Heineke and you benched your chances. That was embarrassing. What Washington's done the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and now apparently they were first going to go back to Heineke, and Heineke said, "No, let's give the kid the start." So they're going with the rookie against Dallas.
Which makes sense. Now that you've eliminated yourself, not been eliminated.
No, that makes sense. But I don't. Yeah. Why the hell did you go to Carson Wentz when your season was on the line? I'm never going to understand that.
No, that is the. I don't know. Maybe Carson is a great practice quarterback, and you just see what he does in practice, and you're like, okay, yes. But it's like, come on, there's enough of him lately on the field that you can't seriously. And what drives me up a wall is that you did this after what Heineke went through and did in San Francisco. The hottest defense in the league at the time, you went there and hung around for a half. Mm-hmm. And it was the second half that the Niners defense took over and the offense got their legs and pulled away. Yeah. And to do that, like, you weren't expected to win that game, period. So why are you taking like that? I just could not. With what are you doing with this? 3-game non-winning streak. You had the tie and then the loss to the Giants, which there was some officiating issues there. But man, to knee-jerk reaction, that loss in San Francisco and bench Heineke. I had no clue. No clue what you're doing there.
No idea.
And did it cost you? I mean, you can literally say that one move very likely cost you the playoffs. Crazy.
I don't think there's any question it did.
Yeah. This is and now because of where Dallas sits, because of how Philadelphia, which it had Philadelphia won, Dallas would have been locked in at the 5, and Dallas is then resting everybody today.
Yeah.
This week, then you would have been able to beat them and you're in, but that's not how this played out. And oddly enough, now we're getting this game that 2 weeks ago we thought that would be the situation. Washington gets an easy win while Dallas is resting everyone. Instead, it's Washington's eliminated and Dallas is still playing for 1 through 5.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Just briefly, let's get into the chaos that is the NFC playoff picture. All because the Eagles couldn't be the adults in the room and lock up the 1 seed. Now you've got all kinds of scenarios. All right, the Eagles can still clinch everything with a win. They're playing the 6-seeded Giants, who, were I the Giants, were I Brian Dable, I'd be treating this like a playoff game just to get my team ready for actual playoff games. That's how I would handle it. So we'll see. He's being very secretive about his plans on who's going to play and what they're going to do and this and that. Okay, but the Eagles are playing the Giants. A Giants team that seems to have righted their ship after a few weeks of being wobbly. Now they're playing the Eagles. If they beat the Eagles, then the 49ers are a win and you're the 1 seed situation. Well, if they both lose, Dallas is your win and your 1 seed. The Vikings, I don't think, can get there. So it's really those 3 teams, but you've got an Eagles team that could be anywhere from first or fifth, a 49ers team that could be first or second, and a Cowboys team that could be first, second, or fifth. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
In the NFC. And we have no idea how this is going to shake out.
No, yeah, this is crazy. And yes, you are correct. I believe it is that, yeah, Philly, no matter what, would stay ahead of Minnesota.
Right.
So all they need is, yeah, a combination of the losses there, a win, and the losses from those guys. But I actually, Philadelphia, if either one, Dallas or San Francisco, loses, even if they lose, they just need at least one of them to lose, and they've got it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, this is crazy. Sorry, it's just I don't know what, and it's fun. Hey, it's great. We all get to sit here and enjoy this. The Giants thing intrigues me of what they're going to do because they are locked in at the 6th seed no matter what happens.
Yeah.
But you know, and I was pretty adamant earlier in the week about, yeah, they're going to rest anybody that's possibly hurt. Probably is still going to rest, just because that, of course, you would do that. And there's a really good chance, the way it's playing out, that you're going to get the 3-seeded Minnesota. And I don't think the Giants are scared of Minnesota right now.
Would you be?
But,
I wouldn't be.
No. But I like what you said about, no, yes, that's true, but still, they need to stay in playoff mindset. And then that's true. That you stay in playoff mindset and you do play to win the game. Mm-hmm. Here, when it comes, push comes to shove at the very end, it might be Philadelphia, but the Giants are going to play a competitive game. They're going to play to win this game. Regardless, even if you lose, it doesn't matter. You're the 6th, but you want to stay sharp. You want to stay crisp like that. So that's what I think Philly pulls this off and gets that 1 seed. But San Francisco, you've got a situation where you've got the 3rd-string quarterback in Arizona, and they looked pretty pitiful last week too. So the Niners should be able to take care of business there.
Mm-hmm.
The thing for San Francisco is that they will know. Is that no. That's the NFC. Yeah, the Dallas and the whole East is playing at the afternoon time, so it'll all be at once. So that will be a lot of fun.
Yes, it would be
in the afternoon to see how everything's going to play out. The Vikings will have already played. We will have that game. They will play Chicago, although we can go ahead and mark that as a win because even Justin Fields isn't playing. So let's go ahead and mark that. The Vikings will get the 13-4.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, outside of that, we're all over the map because if San Francisco takes the loss, they can drop back down to 3. Minnesota move back up to 2.
Mm-hmm, right.
So that's what's fun. Yeah, it'll be a fun afternoon.
Yeah.
Of how all this plays out. Because, I mean, and like you've mentioned, the Dallas factor is still there. Dallas needs a lot to happen, but crazier things have happened.
Crazier things have happened. But it's the NFC is just all kinds of wild and crazy. I can't wait for Sunday. It's just going to be a blast watching how this all. Because right now it looks like a big mess, and by the end of the day, Sunday, we should have all of our pieces in place, and it's time for the tournament. How we get there is going to be very entertaining in the NFC. So, all right. Well, we did have one more topic, and it's of course it's been the topic that's weighed on players. It's weighed on coaching staffs. It's weighed on football fans everywhere. Of course, we're talking about what happened Monday night. Wanted to separate this from the football talk for obvious reasons because we're talking about a young player's life. We're not talking about games. We're not talking about playoffs. We're not talking about any of that garbage because in the scheme of things, it's garbage. What we saw was scary Monday night. What we saw was jarring Monday night. A player having to be revived on the field. Irby, I guess let's start here because it's one of those situations where it can happen. You never expect it to happen. And it did Monday night. And thank God the coaching staff, the training staff were right there to administer CPR as quickly as they did. That the first responders on the field were able to get the AED on him as quickly as they did. Because if they hadn't, a really awful situation could have gotten a lot worse.
Yeah, Bo, you're absolutely right. And I appreciate how you said that too, because yes, there's conversations about how this all plays out from the business standpoint, but none of it matters. It really does not matter. I understand from a fan, you want to know where your team ends up, but none of it matters. This is life safety first, sports later. Yes, I understand it's a business, but whatever. Life safety first. And Damar Hamlin's life matters more than anybody who wins whatever trophy, whatever Super Bowl, any of that. Damar Hamlin's life means more than that. It was a weird night, and I think all of us that watched it live, caught up later. We went through multiple emotions. At times, didn't know how to act, and that's normal. It's even weird to talk about. I talk about my background real quick before I answer this. I have a background. I know you know this, and for the listeners, I was a firefighter, paramedic. I've never worked on an NFL field before, but I've done 22 CPRs in my life, and I work in emergency management now, so kind of the more higher level and no longer in the trenches anymore. So I have a little experience of similar situations, and the things that stuck out to me during this is well, you said it, well, we never expect this to happen. We prep for these things, and I say we is the work that I do. We do prep for these things, and that's why there are up to 30, 40 medical personnel on site. I say we as a collective, we again. We as a society, we respond well to emergencies. We respond well to disasters. We've seen that throughout, this year, last year, the decade, 2 decades, whatever you want to say. I mean, you don't have to go back far to see that we respond well. And there's a situation, this happens, and we are set up to have an ambulance on the field within 2 minutes performing life resuscitation. And in a situation, what Damar went through, the condition that hasn't been confirmed, but we all strongly believe what happened. The sudden traumatic hit in a condition that typically is seen more in baseball than football. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. It's having responders on site within 2 minutes. It highly, highly improves the chances of survival. Kudos to that first responding team, the doctors, the nurses, everyone. I mean, how everything responded, boom, from life safety was amazing. And it's the best that you can do in the situation. And we don't know this evening where Damar is. We hear that he's improving, which is amazing, which is great. Yeah. And I think it's something we all love to hear. We don't know where that is right now. It is the priority still and remains. But how all those things progressed was amazing, and that's where we do prep. We do respond. We do respond well. The prep side, we collectively struggle a little bit. We don't prepare for these things that well. We react to it. We don't prepare for it. And that's the work that I do as a career, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love educating on better steps for preparing. And that conversation for the NFL, that conversation for player safety is a conversation that will happen down the road. It is a conversation that we will sit here and have that conversation and talk about options. And I think it is a conversation that should happen, and there has been some progress. And there's more to be made. But the main thing that came out of this is this game was properly canceled, postponed, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That was the right. Don't really care about the timeline of how that went, but we can that. I honestly don't care. What's true, what's rumors, all that, it doesn't matter. It was canceled. The players on the field, those that witnessed this, something we've seen in the last few years, in the last decade, that we take this a lot more serious in emergency situations, that those that witness traumatic events, it is an issue. And again, it's not the priority. The main thing is Damar Hamlin. But those that witness this too, the last thing you need to do is go back to work. Go back to, and that's what it is. A football game is work. For these coaches, for these players, it's work. For the officials too. The last thing they needed to do was go back to work. And so canceling was the right decision. And whether this game gets made up or not, it really doesn't matter. Because it is Damar Hamlin. And it was a interesting night. I keep coming back to I talked about this with a friend today, and it's weird. I keep coming back to it is about Damar, because it is. And I stress that everything that we say outside of his life is secondary. And it's okay to have these conversations in the right setting of, what's next, what's going forward, what are they going to do? It's okay to have those. But as long as we all understand, Damar Hamlin is all that matters here.
Yeah.
I even was saying that night, it's like I felt for T. Higgins, the player who initiated contact. My gosh, there was nothing. It was a routine play, and that's probably what's scary too.
It is, exactly, yes. That's what's scary.
And I think we are all still processing that, and that's okay. And it's okay to say it's okay. Last Friday I was out hiking. I went and did a good half marathon, a 13-mile hike, and while I was on it, there was actually a young lady who was running the trail, tripped and fell, and broke her wrist. And weirdly enough, I just happened to be the former paramedic there with my first aid kit and everything, and I come prolixing through, and her and her friend are like, "You're like our guardian angel." I'm like, "Yeah, I just happen to be here." And I'm able to put it together. But the interesting thing for me, and I learned this, and I practice this in my job, and I see so many people that do this too, and it's not just the medical field. It's not just the emergency management. It's anybody can practice this. The biggest thing that I did for her is that when sitting her down, and I told her, this is not how you expected today to go, and you look like you want to cry. So go ahead and do it. And when I did, it opened up the water gates, and she just bawled. And that's the big thing here, is it's okay. It's okay to react to this, and that's the players on the field. It's okay. You need to get it out. You need to talk to somebody. You need to process this. And the last thing we need to do is worry about football. We need to worry about Damar Hamlin.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I know I went long there.
No. Hey, you literally just said it's okay to react. Don't sell yourself short on your own reaction. Jeez, dude. It's okay. Well,
and it's and you know what the funny thing is this has become a big deal for me. I as a paramedic early on, I did not do this stuff. I internalized a lot of what I saw. I internalized the trauma that I thought that I witnessed and I was a part of, and it was a mistake. It was a huge mistake. And I tell youth kids all the time, these kids going to be doctors and nurses, I give them my phone number and I said, "Hey, please call me up. When you have that shift, when you have that procedure, call me up and get it out." And again, it's not just in the medical field. The medical field is one that sees this a lot, but it's in sports. It's in football here. It's in other things. These types of injuries happen. We saw this happen in soccer back in 2021. A Denmark player collapsed on the field, had to have life resuscitation to bring him back. And it's traumatic for everybody. It is traumatic to see these things, and we need to talk about it. We need to have these conversations, because we're not going through what Damar Hamlin's going through or his family. No, they are going through a much bigger tragedy, and they are going through a much harder situation. But for those of us that witnessed it too, it is difficult. And the sport and the business have to be separated from this, and it needs to focus on human life, because at the end of the day, it's human life. This is just a game. I know we all get super excited about our team. We get so distraught when our team loses, and we get so high when our team wins. It's great, but at the end of the day, it is a game.
It's a game.
It's just a game.
It's just a game. Just a game. Okay. One thing before we go, I did want to share the National CPR Foundation. You can find that at nationalcprfoundation.com. If you want to take a class, get a certification in CPR or first aid, you can go to that URL or check with your county health department. Is that right, Irby? County health department's the place to go?
Yeah, yes, sir. No, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, there are classes everywhere. They are free classes. Our county, we absolutely hold these CPRs, CPR, first aid training, stop the bleed. These things are out there. They are free, like you said, Bill. They are free, and they are huge. I could spend a whole show and tell you story after story after story where you have no idea when this comes into. You never know when you're going to need it. You never know. So yes, great skill in life to have. CPR training.
All right. Well, one little piece of housekeeping. Obviously, we didn't step into our time capsule tonight. It's not as much fun with only Irby and me. So when Samantha's back next week, the time capsule will also return. Don't worry, guys. It didn't go anywhere. It'll be back next week along with Samantha. So for now, though, that's going to do it for us. We're out of here. Until next week, go take that CPR class. Call it lollygagging homework. Get yourself certified. It may save a life.